I grew up here and feel at home in these streets. I feel comfortable. The Twin Towers fell just over here, just over there. This part of the city was like a ghost town. But we vowed we would not allow terrorists to change our way of life. And we started the Tribeca Festival to bring people back. I love this city. I love this city. I don't want to destroy it. We New Yorkers used to tolerate him when he was just another grubby real estate hustler masquerading as a big shot, a two-bit playboy lying his way into the tabloids, pretending to be a spokesperson for himself. He was calling it as himself for himself, to fool the press into inflating his net worth. A clown. But this city is pretty accommodating. We make room for clowns. We have them all over the city. People who do crazy things in the street, we tolerate it. It's part of the city, it's part of the culture. But not a person like Trump who will eventually run the country. That does not work, and we all know that. Anyway, we make room for clowns, to each his own. But no one takes him or took him really seriously. They take him seriously now, of course. But around the country, people who didn't know him as we did started to support him. Trump bought their votes with outrageous lies and empty promises. He got the most religious evangelicals to applaud a sinner who bragged about sexual assault, and who, just a couple of blocks from here, a jury found him liable for sexual abuse. Somehow, he even got self-styled patriots to support a man who called for terminating the Constitution, and on January 6th, rallied an angry mob to threaten democracy, leaving death and destruction in its wake. That's why I needed to be involved and wanted to be involved in the new Biden-Harris ad, because it shows the violence of Trump and reminds us that he'll use violence against anyone who stands in the way of his megalomania and greed. But it's a coward's violence. You think Trump ever threw a punch himself or took one? This guy who ran and hid in the White House bunker when there were protesters outside? No way. He doesn't get blood on his hands. No, he doesn't. He directs the mob to do his dirty work for him by making a suggestion, an inference. And his gang grovels and follows his obvious order. It's no surprise that the murder rate and other violent crimes peaked under Trump and are falling under Biden. And now he's promising to use our own military to attack U.S. citizens. That's the tyrant. That's the tyrant he's telling us he'll be. And believe me, he means it. When Trump ran in 2016, it was like a joke. This buffoon running for president. No, never could happen. We'd forgotten the lessons of history that showed us other clowns who weren't taken seriously until they became vicious dictators. With Trump, we have a second chance. And no one is laughing now. This is the time to stop him by voting him out once and for all. We don't want to wake up after the election saying, what, again? We can't have that happen again. Yesterday was Memorial Day. It's a good time to reflect on how Americans fought and died so that we may enjoy the freedoms guaranteed to us by a democratic government. A government that, as President Lincoln said, of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Under Trump, this kind of government will perish from the earth. I don't mean to scare you. No, wait, maybe I do mean to scare you. If Trump returns to the White House, you can kiss these freedoms goodbye that we all take for granted. And elections, forget about it. That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave. He will never leave. You know that. He will never leave. What does that mean? Is that the country we want to live in? Do we want him running this country and saying, I'm not leaving, I'm dictator for life? I hope this new ad campaign reaches outside the bubble to remind supporters of what a danger he is to our lives. This is not a threat. This is a reality. And that's why I've joined the Biden-Harris campaign, because the only way to preserve our freedoms and hold on to our humanity is to vote for Joe Biden for president. Really. We don't have a choice. On January 6th, while Republican lawmakers despicably tried to keep the loser Trump, in the White House, and Trump-inspired insurrectionists stormed the Capitol, brave men and women from law enforcement put their lives on the line to defend this country. Our democracy. They are the true heroes. These guys are the true heroes. They stood and put their lives on the line for these lowlives, for Trump.
They lied under oath.
They lied under oath. Right. Who lied under oath? What are you telling me?
Those two traitors behind you.
Excuse me?
Those two traitors behind you.
They lied under oath?
That's right.
What are you saying?
They're traitors.
They're traitors. I don't know. I don't even know how to deal with you, my friend. I don't even know how to deal with you. They stood there. They didn't have to. And there were other ones in there who probably were in with them a little bit too, and they found a way to get around. Not these guys. They stood there and fought for us, for you. For you.
Well, they weren't fighting for me.
No, they fought for you, buddy. You're able to stand right here now. They are the true heroes. I'm honored to be with these two heroes today, from former Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn and former Metropolitan Police Officer Michael Fanone.
I want to bring in ABC News political director Rick Klein for a bit more on this. Rick, why do this? The Biden campaign has been fairly silent on Trump and the various cases against him. So why now hold this press conference with these surrogates outside of the courthouse on the day of closing arguments?
Yeah, I think this is a significant strategic shift by the Biden campaign. Instead of ignoring this to try to take advantage of the media presence outside the courthouse, recognizing that Trump himself and many of his surrogates have been out there at the microphones almost every day as the trial has been going on. They see the same opportunity. Robert De Niro, a New Yorker, and the two former Capitol police officers in Fanone and Harry Dunn seizing this opportunity as well. It comes just a few days after a new ad, January 6th themed ad, highlighting the former president's actions and inactions on January 6th was voiced by De Niro, one of the most famous actors in the world, quite obviously. And as these two officers are part of a group of Capitol police officers who are planning a tour around the country to highlight these actions. So the Biden team wants to make this campaign very much about the battle for democracy, about what happened on January 6th, to put that back into consciousness. They have ways to do it that don't involve showing up outside the courthouse. This, though, is a shift. And I think just taking advantage of the geography and the opportunity to do it is part of it. The honking horn made it quite a New York scene, I should note, and the fact that that De Niro was engaging with some very pointed questions. I don't know who the questions were from, but they were pointed and I think misleading questions about the officers' conduct in and around January 6th. But I think it's notable that they'd be looking to seize on the news in this way.
And we now have a nominee for a libertarian running for president. That went to Chase Oliver, not RFK Jr. and not former President Trump. Trump says he would have won if he did run as a libertarian. Do you see this having any impact on the election?
I think if Bobby Kennedy Jr. had won the nomination, it would be a huge impact. It would put him on the ballot in enough states to make the debate in a couple of weeks almost automatically. I think it was a big strategic error by him and his campaign not to get into this race until very late. He ended up only getting about 2% of the vote, eliminated very quickly in the voting. The Libertarians have historically not been much of a factor. We'll see if Chase Oliver is different. He's much younger. He's a millennial. He's in his 30s. He's openly gay. He's got some opinions on the Libertarian side of things that might cheat lead a little bit more toward the left. But I think the Libertarians thought about the idea of going with Kennedy, but they only thought about it very briefly. Notable also that Donald Trump was at that same convention, and he was heckled, he was booed, he was jeered, he sort of taunted them about the 3% he said they get in elections every year. I think that the Libertarians made a choice to stick with their principles as opposed to having more of an influence. And I think Kennedy might regret not engaging in this earlier, because I think he had a chance here to vault his candidacy into another realm if he had secured that nomination.
We're now just under a month until the first presidential debate. That's slated for June 27th. What are you watching for as we get closer to that day? And what do you think the candidates are doing to try to prepare?
Yeah, Diane, I mean, I think it's crazy to think because it's so early at the beginning of the summer, but we've seen a lot of the groundwork being laid. I think even events like this morning, trying to get that out there and put these officers as well as De Niro front and center, change the terms of this conversation. There's a bunch of stories just in the last couple of days about how Democrats are worried about the trajectory of this campaign. The debate is a chance to highlight some differences. Obviously, whatever verdict we get in this case will be huge. It's probably the only trial that's going to go all the way to a verdict before the election. And then we're going to see what the candidates do on the road. We're going to see President Biden and Vice President Harris in Philadelphia tomorrow on the campaign trail. I think what campaigns try to do in this phase is just kind of establish a bit of a different storyline, get people talking, get the press covering a little bit of a different story. I think this morning's action outside the courthouse is an attempt by the Biden campaign to do just that.
All right. Our political director, Rick Klein. Rick, thank you.